Hello and welcome to my channel Passionate PT. Today we're going to discuss about posterior cerebral artery syndrome. That's the continuation of my previous lectures, my previous videos in which I described about anterior cerebral artery and middle cerebral artery syndrome. Now we'll that were those two arteries, those were the part of anterior circulation of the circle of Willis. Now we'll talk about posterior cerebral artery syndrome, or the PCA syndrome. So let's start. So as the name suggests, posterior cerebral artery, that means this artery is present on the posterior side of the cerebrum. Okay, the posterior side of the cerebrum uh, uh, is made up of, or in other words, you can say on the posterior side of the cerebrum is present the occipital lobe and the brainstem. So these are the main areas, or some part of the temporal lobe that are present, are supplied by the posterior cerebral artery. It is present on the posterior side of the cerebrum. So before going into the detail of its effects, if it gets damaged, we have to know about we briefly need to know about its course, how it which arteries combine to form the posterior cerebral artery. So from the posterior side, this I have made a random sketch to make you people understand. From the both left and right side, two cerebral arteries combine from the both side at the level of the medulla, okay, and form the single basilar artery. Okay, vertebral arteries from both the side combine to form a single basilar artery. Now then this basilar artery, at the level, almost at the level of the midbrain, splits into two arteries, left and right, and these arteries are called posterior cerebral artery. Okay, from the bottom, two vertebral arteries combine to form basilar artery. Basilar artery travels upward and splits at the level of the midbrain into posterior cerebral, left and right posterior cerebral artery. Now as it will supply its surrounding area, so mainly its area of supply will be midbrain. Just above the midbrain is present the thalamus. Okay, so here is all the brain stem composed of midbrain, pons and medulla. It splits above the, almost above the, or at the level of the midbrain, so it supplies the midbrain. And just above the midbrain is present the thalamus, so it also supplies the thalamus. And all around is the occipital lobe, that is mainly present posteriorly of the cerebral hemispheres, so it also supplies the occipital lobe. So mainly the issues will be related to these areas, which will appear when posterior cerebral artery will get rupture. So let's talk about the sign and symptom which will result from the damage to this artery. We'll talk in accordance with the area. So first of all, it supplies the midbrain. So if the supply to the midbrain is disturbed, what can happen? So there is a syndrome that is related to the posterior cerebral artery, that is Weber's syndrome. Okay, Weber's syndrome. So what is Weber's syndrome? It is combination of the oculomotor nerve palsy and contralateral hemiplegia. When these two things happen at the same time collectively, then they're called as Weber syndrome. Now we need to explain what is Weber, how this happens. Oculomotor nerve palsy. Now oculomotor nerve is the third cranial nerve, and the nuclei of the third and fourth cranial nerve are present in the midbrain. Okay, so if there are damage at the level of the midbrain, then this cranial nerve damage to the nuclei of the third cranial nerve, because the nuclei present in the midbrain, and midbrain is supplied by the posterior cerebral artery. So posterior cerebral artery, if it gets damaged, the supply to the nuclei of the oculomotor nerve will also be disturbed, and that can cause oculomotor nerve palsy. Okay, now oculomotor nerve palsy, what can be the result of this? There'll be decreased pupillary light response, there'll be miosis, there'll be ptosis, and there'll be sluggish response of the eyes. Okay, to the pupillary light reaction will be sluggish, and there'll be eye movements will be sluggish. Okay, there'll be drooping of the eyelids, that is known as ptosis. There'll be constriction of the pupil, that will called as miosis. So all this will result as a result of oculomotor nerve palsy. Next will be contralateral hemiplegia. Now contralateral, why contralateral hemiplegia will happen? At the level of the midbrain, there is present a cerebral peduncle. What is cerebral peduncle? That all the tracts that travel, all the motor tracts that travel from the cerebrum towards the pons pass through an area, or pass through structure or form a structure when passing through the midbrain, that is known as the cerebral peduncle. So cerebral peduncle is composed of the tracts coming from the cerebrum towards the pons. So if the supply to the midbrain is damaged, they can also cause the damage to these tracts, these motor tracts primarily, and contralateral, because these tracts cross at the level of the medulla, so the effects will be contralateral, and this will result in contralateral hemiplegia. Okay, so contralateral hemiplegia can also result. It can also occur, both these effects can occur separately, but if they occur in combination, that will collectively, this will be known as Weber's syndrome. Now what happens if the supply to the thalamus is disrupted? There can be central post thalamic pain. Central pain we can call. Thalamus is the relay center for all the sensory sensations coming from the periphery. Okay, all the sensory information that is coming from the periphery, thalamus is the relay center, thalamus is the processor for that information. So if the supply to the thalamus is disturbed, what will happen? There'll be disturbed dysesthesia, that means there'll be disturbed sensations, there'll be central pain. That central pain means that there'll be no issues in the periphery. For example, if a person is feeling shoulder, elbow, any pain on the damaged side, the person will have no issue in the peripheral area, but the issue will be in the brain, at the level of the thalamus, and that will be the result of the posterior cerebral artery syndrome. Also, there can be damage to the VPL nucleus, ventral posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, that can result in the production of the involuntary movement like choreoathetosis, hemibilismus, and such other involuntary movement will start to appear when there will be damage to VPL nucleus of thalamus. So central thalamic pain, which cannot be cured peripherally, and involuntary movement that can result. Now the bigger part being supplied by the posterior cerebral artery is the occipital lobe. Now occipital lobe, as you all know, is related to the vision, so most of the visual disturbances will appear here, and you can understand this, but that most of the visual disturbances are related to the posterior cerebral artery. So there can be contralateral or bilateral homonymous hemianopsia. Okay, I've described in my previous video of middle cerebral artery that what is homonymous hemianopsia. Homonymous hemianopsia is that the half of your visual field on the affected side will be lost. When you'll try to visualize and you'll try to see an object, you'll see only one side of the object, or if you're looking at a person, you'll be seeing either left or right side of the person. You'll not be able to view the person as a whole, and to view the person's other side, like if you're viewing the left side, you have to turn your head towards the right side of the person to see the right side. So half of the visual field is lost in homonymous hemianopsia. But if the bilateral homonymous hemianopsia, this can also happen if damage is extensive, but there can be macular sparing. Macular sparing means that in the center there can be a spot which is spared, and that is due to collateral supply from the middle cerebral artery to the area that is responsible for macular sparing. So there can be contralateral or bilateral homonymous hemianopsia. There can be visual agnosia. Visual agnosia means that the person won't be able to visually recognize the objects. Okay, this can also, person will not be able to visually differentiate, visually recognize among the objects. Similar, this will be due to damage again to the occipital lobe. Then there will be prosopagnosia. What is prosopagnosia? It is that the person won't be able to name the people on side, when and the person will be able to see the person, but he won't be able to recall what is the name of the person. And that mainly happen due to damage to the visual association cortex. That part of the, that is a part of the occipital lobe, and that is involved with the recognition of the people, recognition of the names of the persons that we come across in a whole day. So that is prosopagnosia. Then there can be dyslexia. Dyslexia is that the person won't be able to read. He won't be able to because reading is also associated with the looking at the words and then recognizing them and then recalling them. The person won't be able to do that. There'll be anomia. Anomia means that the person won't be able to name the colors or differentiate among the colors. Color naming and color differentiation will also be difficult for that person. Then the person with the posterior cerebral artery will have difficulty with the memory. That means he'll have the memory defect. Now why he'll have the memory defect? Some part of the temporal lobe that is related with the memory is supplied by the posterior cerebral artery, and because of the rupture posterior cerebral artery, that area will be affected and person will have the memory defect. Then is the topographic, sorry, this spelling here, it's topographic disorientation. That person will not be oriented, person won't be able to understand that at what time, at what place he is. He won't be able to locate himself, he won't be able to understand the area, the position, or the place where he is present. He will not be oriented, he'll lose its orientation. So this will be all related to the occipital lobe. Hope you people like the video. Thank you very much for your your cooperation, and take care.